What if I told you the most powerful woman in the world owned jewels she refused to wear? For 70 years, Queen Elizabeth II commanded respect with nothing more than her presence. Every tiara she chose became iconic. Every appearance, flawless. But here's what they don't tell you. Hidden in the royal vault were tiaras worth millions, gathering dust. Not because they were ugly, not because they were broken, but because they carried something heavier than diamonds. Secrets, heartbreak, ghosts of empires past. Tonight you're about to discover the forbidden tiaras of Queen Elizabeth II and the jaw-dropping reasons she locked them away forever. This is one-time legend. Let's begin. Number 10, Queen Mary's Bandeau, the one she saved for a scandal. Picture this, 1932, a tiara so sleek, so modern, it could have been made yesterday. Queen Mary commissioned this platinum masterpiece featuring a detachable center brooch, a flexible design that was revolutionary for its time. The brooch itself, a stunning Art Deco piece given to Queen Mary as a wedding gift in 1893. She had it reimagined into this bandeau nearly 40 years later, combining old sentiment with new style. Queen Mary wore it once, then buried it in the vault. For 86 years, it stayed hidden. No photographs, no public appearances. Royal watchers didn't even know it existed until 2018, when Meghan Markle walked down the aisle wearing it, and the world lost its mind. The choice was deliberate. Elizabeth II personally selected it for Meghan, knowing full well the statement it made. This is a new era. The Queen didn't wear it, she weaponized it. A silent message to a changing world that she was still the one writing history. Number 9, the Kent Feston Tiara. The tiara she could never claim. Created in 1901, this stunning piece features festoon-style diamond swags that cascade like frozen waterfalls. It was a wedding gift to Princess Victoria Mary of Teck, but through marriage and inheritance, it eventually passed to the Duchess of Kent, the Queen's cousin. Here's where it gets complicated. Technically, Elizabeth II had access to it. She could have requested to borrow it for state occasions. The Duchess of Kent wore it frequently to banquets, hosted by the Queen herself. But the Queen never once asked to wear it. Why? Royal etiquette. Even as monarch, there are invisible lines of respect and ownership within the family. This tiara belonged to another branch, and taking it, even temporarily, would have sent a message about power and control. Imagine being the most powerful monarch on earth and still not being able to wear a tiara because it belongs to your cousin. That's the paradox of royalty. All the jewels in the world, but only some are truly yours. Number 8, the Burmese Ruby Tiara, when even her own design failed. This one stings because it was personal. In 1947, the people of Burma gifted Elizabeth 96 rubies for her wedding, each one believed to protect the wearer from illness and evil. The gesture was profound, rooted in centuries of Burmese tradition. For 26 years, those rubies sat unused. Then in 1973, the Queen commissioned Gerard to create something extraordinary, a tiara combining those Burmese rubies with diamonds from the dismantled Nizam of Hyderabad Tiara. The design featured 96 rubies set in intricate rose motifs, bold, unconventional, deeply meaningful. She wore it once to a state banquet, and barely ever again. The problem? The frame was heavier than expected. The design, while stunning, clashed with her preference for traditional, symmetrical lines. And perhaps most painfully, it was a reminder that even with unlimited resources and the world's best jewelers, you can't force something to feel right. Even a queen can commission a masterpiece and realize it was never meant for her head. Number 7, the Greville Emerald Kokoshnik, the tiara that had to wait. When Margaret Greville died in 1942, she left her entire jewelry collection to Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, including this jaw-dropping Art Deco Kokoshnik dripping with emeralds. The design was pure 1919, geometric, bold, avant-garde. a towering Russian-style Kokoshnik with brilliant cut diamonds and channel-set emeralds that caught light like shattered glass. The Queen Mother wore it occasionally, but when Elizabeth II inherited the collection, she made a fascinating choice. She left it untouched, not out of dislike, out of foresight. She understood that this piece belonged to a different aesthetic, a different generation. Wearing it in the 1980s or 90s would have felt forced, like trying to relive someone else's era. So she waited. Decades passed. The vault kept it secret until 2018, Princess Eugenie's wedding. The moment the world saw it, social media exploded. Where has this been hiding? Elizabeth II knew this tiara wasn't for her generation. She was its guardian, not its star, a queen who understood timing better than anyone. Number 6. Queen Victoria's Sapphire Coronet, the love story she couldn't steal. In 1842, Prince Albert designed this breathtaking sapphire and diamond coronet as a gift for Queen Victoria. It wasn't just jewelry, it was a declaration. The piece featured large oval sapphires surrounded by cushion-cut diamonds, crafted in Albert's signature Gothic Revival style. Victoria wore it constantly, pairing it with matching sapphire jewelry Albert had also designed. Every time she wore it, it was a public tribute to their partnership. After Albert died in 1861, Victoria wore it even more, a way of keeping him close, even in mourning. The coronet passed down through generations, eventually reaching Elizabeth II. She had every right to wear it. It was photographed, catalogued, waiting. But she never did. Why? Because this wasn't just a tiara. It was Victoria and Albert's conversation, a visual language of love that belonged to them alone. Elizabeth II had her own love story with Philip, her own symbols, her own jewelry filled with private meaning. She understood that some treasures aren't meant to be borrowed. Some love stories aren't yours to wear. 5. Queen Alexandra's Kokoshnik, when more isn't better. In 1888, for Queen Alexandra's silver wedding anniversary, 365 peeresses of the realm pooled their money to commission something extraordinary from Gerard. A massive Kokoshnik tiara featuring 61 platinum bars, set with over 488 diamonds. It was a wall of light, towering, imperial, designed to make everyone in the room look twice. Queen Alexandra wore it constantly. It became her signature. Queen Mary inherited it and wore it with equal pride. It screamed power, wealth, legacy. But when Elizabeth II inherited it, something shifted. She wore it, occasionally, for major state occasions. But compared to how her grandmother had lived in it, Elizabeth's use was restrained, almost reluctant. Why? Because she lived in a different world. Alexandra and Mary ruled during the height of empire, when displays of wealth were strategic, even necessary. But Elizabeth reigned through decolonization, economic uncertainty, and a public demanding relatability. She chose the lighter, sleeker Queen Mary fringe for most occasions instead. Simpler lines, less weight, less statement. Her message: a modern queen doesn't need to prove anything. Competence speaks louder than diamonds. So 4. The Strathmore Rose, too fragile to risk. In 1923, when Lady Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon married the Duke of York, future King George VI, her family gifted her this exquisite tiara from the Strathmore collection. It featured delicate diamond wild roses with stems and leaves, all crafted with such intricate detail that each bloom seemed to tremble in the light. The craftsmanship was Victorian-era perfection, romantic, nature-inspired, impossibly delicate. The Queen Mother wore it throughout the 1920s and 30s, during her years as Duchess of York. It appeared in portraits, at garden parties, during the carefree years before abdication and war changed everything. When she became Queen Consort in 1936, she shifted to more formal pieces. The Strathmore Rose quietly retired to the vault. After her mother's death in 2002, Elizabeth II inherited it, but never brought it back into public view. Why? Because it was too fragile, both physically and emotionally. The engineering was nearly a century old, One misstep, one bump, and those diamond petals could shatter. But more than that, this tiara represented her mother's youth, her innocence, the version of Elizabeth Bowes Lion who existed before duty consumed everything. Some memories are too precious to disturb. Some jewels should stay frozen in time. Number 3, the Teck Crescent, the Victorian relic. She buried this diamond crescent tiara came from the Teck family in the 1880s, Queen Mary's side of the family. The design was pure Victorian romance, a graduated diamond crescent that could be worn as a tiara or a necklace, featuring old-cut diamonds in delicate silver and gold settings. Queen Mary wore it occasionally in her youth, but even she seemed to view it as outdated by the time she became queen in 1910. She had it altered, combined with other pieces, reimagined, trying to drag it into the 20th century. It never quite worked. When Elizabeth II inherited it, she faced a choice: commission another redesign or let it rest. She chose to let it rest, not out of disrespect, out of acceptance. Some pieces belonged to their era. The Teck Crescent spoke the visual language of the Victorian age, sentimental, ornate, soft in ways that no longer match the modern monarchy. Wearing it in the 1970s or 80s would have felt like costume, like playing dress-up in someone else's nostalgia. The Queen understood that not everything from the past deserves to be revived. Some ancestors are honored better in private memory than public display. Number 2, the Delhi Durbar Tiara, the crown of a dying empire. 1. Delhi, the British Empire at its absolute zenith. King George V and Queen Mary traveled to India for the Delhi Durbar, a ceremony proclaiming them Emperor and Empress of India. It was pure imperial theater. Elephants, princes, thousands of subjects bowing before British might. For the occasion, Gerard created this monstrosity of a tiara for Queen Mary, an enormous piece featuring the Cullinan 3rd and 4th diamonds, the 3rd and 4th largest stones cut from the legendary Cullinan diamond, set in Cambridge emeralds and pave diamonds. It was massive, heavy, unapologetically imperial. Designed to say, "We own the world." Queen Mary wore it proudly for decades. It represented everything she believed about monarchy, empire, and Britain's place in history. But Elizabeth II? She lived through the dismantling of that empire. She witnessed independence movements, decolonization, the transformation of empire into commonwealth. She met with former colonies as equals, not subjects. Wearing the Delhi Durbar Tiara would have been a lie, or worse, an insult. It represented a worldview she could no longer endorse, even if she once inherited its wealth and power. The weight of those emeralds carried the weight of imperialism itself, so she left it in the vault, where empires belong. Number 1, the Oriental Circlet, the tiara she loved too much to wear. This is the one that breaks your heart. In 1853, Prince Albert designed the Oriental Circlet for Queen Victoria, inspired by Mughal Indian jewelry. It featured opals, later replaced with rubies after Victoria deemed opals unlucky, set in elaborate gold scrollwork with diamonds. The design was exotic, romantic, deeply personal. Albert's artistic vision translated into gold and gems. Victoria treasured it. After Albert's death, it became even more sacred. One of the few pieces that still carried his touch, his creativity, his love. The tiara eventually passed to Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, who made it her signature piece. She wore it constantly from the 1930s through the 1990s, to state banquets, royal weddings, formal portraits. For nearly 70 years, when you saw the Oriental Circlet, you thought of the Queen Mum. It became inseparable from her identity. When she passed in 2002, Elizabeth II inherited it. Photographs show her admiring it, holding it carefully, understanding its weight, not in gold, but in memory. And she never wore it again. Not once, not even in private. Why? Because it wasn't a tiara anymore. It was her mother's soul. Every ruby in that circlet held a memory. Her mother's laughter at state dinners, her resilience during the Blitz, her grace through a century of change. Wearing it would have felt like erasing those memories, like claiming something that could never truly be hers. It was the ultimate act of love, letting go by holding on. The truth about queens beneath Windsor Castle Hundreds of jewels sleep in darkness, each one worth a fortune, each one with a story the world will never fully know. Queen Elizabeth II didn't just inherit history, she decided which parts of it deserved the light. For her, power wasn't about wearing everything you own. It was knowing what to leave untouched. Understanding that sometimes silence speaks louder than sparkle. And sometimes the most beautiful jewels are the ones a queen refuses to wear because they carry something more precious than diamonds: memory, honor, love. This has been one-time legend. Now you know the secret she never spoke aloud.